Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Ship It and Sip It. I'm here on a Friday evening with Sergey Lukashov. How's your week, Sergey?
Well, my week is pretty usual. You know, it starts slowly and then getting into whirlpool. And here we are, Friday.
It's Friday. And for drinks this week, we are staying healthy, but crafty. So we have two alcohol-free craft beers. The first is called Easy Thai. It's an alcohol-free tropical sour, and it is from Bakunin Brewery in St. Petersburg. Do you like sour beer?
Well, it's interesting for me. I cannot say I really found of it or something, but it's really interesting. I admit there could be really tasty ones. And Russians know how to brew good craft beer, so I believe that's gonna be tasty. Well, at least not awful.
All right, let's try our sour beer.
Yeah. Smells sour.
It is sour. Tastes sour, but it's fruity, nice and light. It doesn't have that stinging throat sensation that some sour beers have.
Well, it's not so sour as I expected.
No.
It's more like juice actually.
Yeah.
To speak about sourness.
It's pleasantly refreshing. We can recommend it if you like non-alcoholic sour beers, which is a very small niche of beer lovers. All right. In news this week, we have a lot of news actually that I want to run through real quick. The two products from our batch one of the Paralect Accelerator are launching as we speak. Visa is live and you can join their travel community at visa.com. And Nudge is launching in the French market with their app and the early user community there. That's really exciting. What do you think about the Accelerator program, and would you like to maybe be on one of the teams in the future of the Accelerator?
Well, first of all, I really think that initiative of Paralect is really a step up for the company, because it's completely new area for us, it's completely new direction, and at the same time, it's very promising. I mean, we can get out of there a lot of experience, a lot of profits. So, well, it's just the way a company is going right now is awesome to my mind.
Sure.
Well, and speaking about participation in the processes, yeah, unfortunately I did not participate deeply in those two, just at the level of graduation, startup summer graduation stuff and all this thing. But yeah, I would really love to get in this deeper. Hopefully my technical background will help and will be useful for the upcoming batch.
Sure, I hope so too. And speaking of tech, our CTO, Igor Krasnik, has shared a bit of a sneak peek about the toolkit called Ship. We call it Parallax Ship, and it's going to be both a new landing page to present the toolkit and also an update to the GitHub repo, where we house all these tools that our tech teams use to start new projects. Do I have that right?
Yep, ship revamp or make the ship great again,
Yeah.
kind of that. So when we start new project, technically we take all this work from ship, compile it, and based on that we're providing the services for our customers. So the idea, I believe, right now is to just give it a fresh air.
Yeah. Well, it sounds cool. I'm excited to see what the whole landing page looks like and what sort of our prospective clients think about it, what founders think about it, how we can use it in the marketing team, how the sales team can use it to share our ideas and processes with different founders around the world. All right, let's get to your experience a little bit, because you're one of the guys who and you work on a project that I probably know the least about at Paralect, and I've probably talked with you the least out of almost anybody in the company in my 3 years here. So I'm excited to have you on the show. 2 years ago, I wrote you a message in Slack and I asked you to describe what being a programmer is like in a very few words. And you said it is the ability to create something cool. Is that still true for you?
Yes, definitely. So, like being a programmer is like that, at least for me, is to try something new, continue some discoveries, continue some improvements, and well, to make it even like super simple, it's like building something out of constructor blocks. So it's just a game for a boy. The boy just grew up, and the game has changed, but it's still kind of passionate about new technologies and all the stuff.
You've been here for over 5 years now, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so most of that time you were working on one of our longest lasting and most successful project teams. But first, can you tell us just a little bit about your path to Paralect? What sort of attracted you to the company, maybe the team, maybe there were specific people that you really got on with right away? And how have you grown into being one of the leaders of the engineering department?
When I was about to get out of university, I get my first job. It was a big company. The name of it doesn't matter, but I mean, it wasn't good for me as a student. I get like basic knowledges. I had some courses there, and when I realized that, well, okay, it's time for me to move on, I started to look for something smaller, something maybe more cozy. I do remember my interview here in Paralect. It was super technical. I was sure I failed it. I completely failed it. But luckily, my interviewers decided I'm not. So they get me a job offer, and here I am.
So now you lead a group of .NET developers here. Can you share with us a little bit about why you're passionate about .NET tech specifically? What do you love about .NET? Why isn't it maybe as common as JS frameworks?
Sometimes I get involved in the JS world too, and I actually like these two technologies. They are rather different by the nature, but at the same time they're pretty similar by the appearance. So they basically JavaScript and C#, they have C-like syntaxes. So for developers, I believe they both feels like known, like a natural. So if you learn C one day, or C# or C++, JavaScript, Java, you kind of feel all these languages because they're from one family. And speaking about differences, the history of these languages and these platforms are really different, and well, it's even hard to compare them. The C# is part of .NET, which is Microsoft World, which is kind of commercial product developed by Microsoft a long time ago, and this was developed intentionally for desktop applications, for web applications, for all that business stuff. For JavaScript, the history was a little bit different. Initially, it was developed just to support some dynamics on the web pages, like when in the era when internet was static, there was a desire to make something dynamics, some not nasty, but pleasant, some pleasant animation, some button clicks, and so on. So JavaScript was designed to do such things, but then it evolved highly.
Well, that's interesting. I never really dove into the history of them that much. If you were talking with a founder who came to us and said, I want to build this idea into a product, what would be the situations, or what I guess would be the characteristics of their vision where you would say you should use .NET for this product? Is there a certain like niche or application where .NET is a better, more performant option for them?
Mm-hmm. Well, could be different considerations. Right now, to be honest, the main one is the availability of people, of teams that are working with .NET or JavaScript. Depending on what we have, we can actually support both options. But if to dig it a little bit deeper, there could be also some things related to hosting. I can imagine a customer coming to us and saying, hey, I have an infrastructure already, or I want to use Azure because I have a certificate from Microsoft that gives me 10,000 free hours in computing in Azure. Then we kind of like, yeah, it's most likely going to be .NET. Maybe .NET, as it's naturally created for web applications. .NET is designed to hold like a lot of parallel requests, parallel users. So it's also feasible with JavaScript, but it requires like a couple of extra steps. Yeah. So, but general, they are both extremely popular technologies. They are both evolve really fast, and they both are production ready. So we feel safe when we provide services using one technology or another. They're both kind of good.
Cool. Just different tools for slightly different jobs, or the same job, depending on who you have on the team and who you have ready to make it happen.
Very true.
Let's talk a little bit about the project team that you worked on for a while. It is a major success story for the founder. All right, we've been partners with him for around 10 years, and recently, in the past, a couple months ago, they were acquired for over $1 billion, which is just a huge success story for the whole team and for the founders and for us. What has that experience been like for you, and just tell us what it's like to be on a team building something that is so helpful for the end customer, but is also a profitable, successful product.
Yeah, actually, I really like this product. First of all, the working there is a mix of something. I don't know even how to describe it. First of all, it's really cool that you're working on the project that helps real people. By helps, I mean it touches health, right? And so feeling that what you've done may help somebody else on the other side of the sea to get healthy, to like make their mental health better, is it's just cool.
Yeah, I mean, you're making a lot of people's lives just better with what you're building, and that's special.
Kind of that, very, very special. But with that speciality, also a great responsibility came. You have to design well, you have to write code well, you have to test it well. So it's great responsibility for us as a technical provider to make everything as it should be, especially in the health tech domain. Third one that I would like to highlight is actually the team.
Right.
I don't know how it turned up like that, but the team on this project is just hilarious. All the guys are kind of super passionate about their job. All the guys are professionals. All the guys are kind of willing to make this project better. I think that's one of the reasons why it eventually get such a great exit.
It's great to hear the team is so positive, and great job on everything. One of the teammates there has just published a blog post on our blog about the automated testing process, and basically how he's a QA, and how he sets up automated testing. And it's not very specific to that product. The ideas can apply to products across health tech, fintech, and any of those sort of high risk types of products where you can't have bugs because you're either facing consequences with people's health or personal data or their money.
Yeah, where the price of an error of a mistake is too high. Yeah.
All right, so just tell us a little bit about your experience with working in that sort of environment where you have Hipaa compliance to deal with, you have a lot of sensitive patient data to deal with. How does that sort of impact how the team works, or how you make decisions together, or how you develop the product?
The first thing that came to my mind, it's natural, it's Hipaa. The state law of USA that has like a list of requirements, list of obligations that has to be done in order to make sure the personal healthcare information, even in electronic form, is protected and secure.
So let's say that a new founder comes to you and says, I want to make a healthcare tech or a health tech app or service or software for the US market. What do I need to do to be Hipaa compliant? You say...
Oh, I say you have to do a lot of things,
Right.
really. Well, but let me start with actually a little bit maybe funny fact that yes, there is such term like a Hipaa compliance, but there is no subject, there is no organ that validate you against Hipaa compliance. So to be fully honest, there are such companies and services that can provide you like an audit to make sure you kind of follow the best practices according to Hipaa. Unlike PCI compliance, for example, where we have a set of accredited organizations that can do the audit and can say that, okay, you done it well, here's your PCI compliance certificate. For Hipaa, there is no such organizations. So even if you find somebody who will tell you that, okay, it seems like you done it well, you're Hipaa compliant, it still can be that government came to you and say, okay, there is something done wrong, and you have to pay fine, no matter have you this certificate of compliance or don't,
Right.
because there is no such a thing as like a certification for Hipaa as organization.
Interesting.
Yeah. At the same time, as we already mentioned, all the employees of companies that provide healthcare services that store and process PHI, personal healthcare information, they has to pass the certification process, the training process, in order to be aware of like what's allowed to do and what's not. So first thing that I would say to the customer that want to build a healthcare application, I would say that, well, probably first thing is to get to know the Hipaa closer, because, well, there is no other good way. We can describe the basics. We can have a knowledge transfer session for that to establish the main things.
Well, everything when it comes to government regulation gets quite complicated.
Well, that's very true.
Pretty much no matter what country, whether you're in the United States or whether you're in Europe somewhere. Are there any sort of equivalents in the European market for Hipaa, or is it up to each country in the EU? Let's say we've got a founder from Germany that says, I want to do some health tech app. Is there something like Hipaa there?
Well, as far as I know, there is nothing like this yet in Europe. Somebody likes to compare Hipaa and GDPR, but they're basically not the same. I mean, Hipaa is only about healthcare, health services, and healthcare information being stored somewhere. It even doesn't matter, it's paper or electronic records. But GDPR is only for electronic records, right? And it's only for privacy. I would say GDPR is actually wider than Hipaa because like it touches everything you do in Europe as an electronic service provider.
We've already talked about Hipaa and the particular challenges. Let's stick with .NET for a little bit because we are hiring and we're looking for more .NET developers to join our teams. I assume that you're one of the people that's very closely involved in interviewing and bringing them on board. What message might you have for someone who has a background in .NET, has some experience, looks at our vacancy page, you can see it right here on join.paralect.com, and says, maybe I could fit in this team? What would you like to say to those people? Why should they apply?
Well, first of all, you should apply because the atmosphere here in Paralect is just awesome. It cannot be described, it should be felt. Second, speaking about technologies and all the like languages and framework stuff that's interesting for developers, we have a lot of projects coming up. We have a lot of projects that requires developers right now, and we have a really wide range of techniques, approaches, so you will definitely find something interesting for you.
Fantastic. And from my conversations here, it seems like the developers on these projects and on the teams really, they're not just, taking Jira tickets and executing them. You guys get to interact with the product owners. You get to sort of collaborate on what directions the products take, what new features should be implemented, why or why not they should be implemented. You're not just coding robots.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I guess somebody would like to be a coding robots, but the products requires more than just like coding. Right. They require more deep investigation and like analysis. So every person is deeply integrated in the ticket he's building, and if there are some like inaccuracies or something could be done better, it should be definitely done, and this just get communicated, get confirmed, and get it implemented. That's actually the cool way to build something like extraordinary.
Yeah, and you've said that we might not be able to talk about this, but I'll ask you about it anyway. There's going to be a new project or product that uses .NET that we're going to start soon. And maybe if you can't talk about the product itself or the idea, maybe you can talk a little bit about the difference between working on such a long-term product like our long-term HealthTech product that you've worked on, and compare that to starting a brand new product from scratch. What's that dynamic like, and which would you rather do at this point?
Wow, that's an interesting question. And it's interesting because these two opportunities for a developer or for employees completely different. So if you have already like big and mature product that is already live, you first of all have to think about like reliability, like performance, the data of existing customers, how should you treat it, and how you should build your feature to not spoil the data, to make it consistent and all the way through. And if to speak about like a completely new project that is just starting up, well, there you actually shouldn't be thinking about like performance or users or data, because there is no users yet, there is no data yet. So it makes a lot of things to be much easier. But at the same time, it brings completely different challenges for a developer, at least. For example, how do I build the infrastructure so that it can be scaled? Mm-hmm. Because when I build a product, I expect this to be successful in the end. And when it's successful, it attracts users. When it attracts users, it should be also responsive to the load users generate. How should I like set it up into architecture, into infrastructure of the project at the beginning, so that somebody in 5 years won't blaming me for doing a shitty job.
Well, thanks for shedding a light on that dynamic, and it's an interesting one. You didn't answer the last part. Which would you rather start at this point?
Now I would choose something completely new and fresh, like to make sure I still remember how to do it, to kind of have something like an exercise.
Right.
Yeah, but in general, I think both is very cool and allows you to evolve better as an engineer.
Super. Let's pivot a little bit away from the developer experience and talk more about more to founders. I assume that you get the chance to talk with our founders throughout your work time here occasionally. What do you think is one or two things that a founder that's considering working with Paralect should know about the teams here that they might not be able to find on our website? What are some inside views that you could share with them?
Looks like you are looking for the ideas for our landing revamp,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Well, what can I say? I think the thing that differ Paralect from other companies is the team as an atomic unit. So the way we now provide our services. So we do not do like outstaffing. We do not sell like heads. We are focused on providing like a high level services in terms of product, in terms of engineering, and in terms of quality assurance. So, and this is done by one unique and atomic unit, that is the team.
All right. I think that is a fascinating aspect of how Paralect is structured. But the variety of the different teams gives us the opportunity to sort of share ideas across. So if you learn something in your product or your project that you would like to share with another project or share with everyone, you know, the company is big enough. We have channels for that. We have the workshop, we have Slack channels that developers share ideas in, right?
Yeah, definitely. That's really important aspect. Like the knowledge sharing inside of the company and between the teams is the really key to learn faster and like eventually to make better job. So yeah, that's very important.
Right, so each team has sort of the autonomy to make their own decisions, but in the background they've got all of this support and knowledge that they can pull on to make those decisions better.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, enough about work stuff.
Well,
enough about work stuff. Someone told me that you're a big fan of craft beer. That's why I bought these delicious craft beers for us to drink tonight. What are some of your favorite styles? And if a founder who also liked craft beer came to visit you here in Minsk, where would you take them to have a good pint?
My favorite style? Really tough question. I like a lot of styles, but I would name, if to name number one, it would be probably Russian Imperial Stout.
Russian Imperial Stout.
Yeah, I like to open small bottle of this tiny
very
oil.
Strong beer.
Yeah, pour it into the glass, and especially in winter.
Of course.
And sit somewhere, maybe like in the loggia, or something like that.
By the
balcony,
fire.
And have a nice hour or so, because that's the kind of beer that you should drink really slow. You cannot just take it in a minute.
Yeah. Each Russian imperial stout is like a journey in a glass.
Yes, exactly.
All right. So, and your favorite spot that you would take someone to?
There are several tap rooms in Minsk. I would probably bring him or her to Malanka, maybe to Beer Cup. Also, here near the office, we have a Pena pub.
Oh yeah.
Which is actually pretty simple, but it has wide range of different beers, and you can pour the beer you want by yourself by using the card.
It's down by the Pesocnica, right?
Yeah, near the Pesocnica. So maybe I would choose something like that.
I haven't actually gone in there yet. I should check it out sometime. All right, and last question for you then, since we're on the topic of beer and technology. If you had to choose, would you rather start your own tech startup or open a craft brewery?
Well, you're full of complicated questions today. Honestly, if to be fully honest, I would probably open the brewery right now because, well, the process of brewing is rather interesting for me. I would like to get deeper in that stuff. Maybe I already understand how to build software, at least to some degree. And I don't really know how to brew a good beer, so I would try probably.
All right, well, when you do make that dream come true, just give me a call. I will test all of your varieties and give you very accurate feedback.
Sure.
Thank you so much for joining Ship It and Sip It. I hope you have a great weekend. And thank you all for joining in. We will see you next time with my next guest. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Bye.
Cheers.
Cheers.